What if the most dangerous man in the room was the one nobody noticed? The one carrying secrets, scars, and a story worth millions. Welcome to Seatown Slim Television.
2006, 6 years later. Richland Correctional Institution. By then, everybody in my dorm knew me by one name, Seatown Slim. Everywhere I went, I carried a notebook and an ink pen. The library became my second home, my sanctuary. And if the yard was closed, you could find me at my rack, pen in hand, working on another story. I had walked down 6 of the hardest years of my life. And if I'm keeping it all the way real, God, my pen, my paper, and my imagination got me through it. It all started years earlier in solitary confinement. Back then, I wasn't thinking about fame. I wasn't thinking about publishing companies. I wasn't thinking about success. I was just trying to survive. So I picked up a pen and started writing. 6 months later, I finished my first book. Then I wrote another one, then another. Before I knew it, writing wasn't something I did. It became part of who I was. By the time I started my third manuscript, I needed to know if I was really good or just wasting my time. So I let somebody read my work. The first person I trusted with one of my books was a dude we called Florida. Florida was always reading street novels, science fiction, anything he could get his hands on. I figured if anybody would give me an honest opinion, it would be him. He read the whole thing in less than a day. That night, everybody around him could hear his reactions. He was talking to the characters, arguing with the pages, getting mad, laughing, forgetting he was even in prison. That's when I knew I might actually have something. The next day, he walked over to my rack with a serious look on his face. He handed me my manuscript and said, "Seatown Slim, you the truth." Just like that, the name was born. I didn't create it. Florida did. And once people started saying it, it stuck. Word traveled fast through Richland. People I had never met started walking up to me. "You the dude writing those books?" Every race, every age, every type of inmate. People wanted to know about the stories, so I started printing copies and renting them out by the chapter. 50 cents a chapter, 30 chapters to a book. It wasn't street money, but inside those walls it meant something. Coffee, snacks, Newports, a little breathing room. More important than the money was the reaction. People were connecting with the stories. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. As the years passed, the collection kept growing. 1 manuscript became 2, 2 became 6, 6 became 12. 12 different stories, 12 different worlds created from a prison bunk. I wasn't writing for money. I was writing because I had something to say. And slowly, people started respecting it. The inmates respected it. Even some of the staff started respecting it. They used to compare me to Life Jennings because he did time at Richland before becoming successful. I respected his journey, but I never wanted to be the next anybody. I wasn't trying to follow somebody else's path. I was trying to build my own. One night, my homeboy Scooter convinced me to let one of the female officers read my work. At first, I wasn't interested. I didn't really deal with officers like that. But Scooter made a good point. The fellas already loved the books. Maybe it was time to get a woman's perspective. So I handed over one of my manuscripts. And honestly, I wasn't expecting much. Later that week, she handed it back and told me something I never forgot. She said she could tell it was going to be good, real good. Then she asked me what I planned to do with it. I told her the truth. I wanted to start my own publishing company one day, but if I couldn't make that happen, I'd settle for a book deal. She looked at me and said I had something special. After that, word spread even further. Now it wasn't just the inmates talking. The entire compound knew about Seatown Slim. But respect didn't mean life was easy. My family wasn't there. No letters, no visits, no support. There were nights I went to sleep hungry, real hungry, not exaggerating, not trying to make the story sound good. I mean stomach touching my back hungry. Some nights I would drink water just to fool my body into thinking I had eaten. And while I sat there trying to ignore the hunger, I would wonder where my family was. But I never complained. I wrote. That's what I did. I wrote. Eventually, I stopped expecting anything from the outside world, except for 2 people, Cassandra and my son. Everybody else faded into the background. But Cassandra stayed. She wrote letters. She came to visit. She sent money when she could. And I never took any of it for granted. She was raising our son while I sat behind prison walls. I knew what that burden looked like. So whatever she gave, I appreciated. Some months there would be nothing. Then out of nowhere, she'd send a little money, some pictures, maybe even a food packer. Then out of nowhere, she'd send a little money, some pictures, maybe even a food package. And every time she did, it reminded me that I hadn't been forgotten. Those letters meant more than words. They gave me something to look forward to, something to hold on to, because prison has a way of making you feel like the world keeps moving without you. But Cassandra never let me feel completely alone. While everybody else drifted away, she stayed. Through the letters, through the phone calls, through the uncertainty, she never stopped believing in me. And when you're sitting in a prison cell trying to build a dream with nothing but paper, a pen, and imagination, sometimes one person believing in you is enough. Enough to keep writing, enough to keep dreaming, enough to become the man you know you're supposed to be. And back then, I didn't know where the journey would lead. I didn't know who I would meet. I didn't know how many lives those stories would touch. All I knew was that every page I wrote brought me one step closer to freedom. Not just physical freedom, freedom of the mind, freedom of purpose. And for the first time in a long time, I believed my story was just beginning.
Some stories end, but the real ones leave questions unanswered. If this chapter pulled you in, like, subscribe, and share, because the next move changes everything. Until next time, welcome to the world of Seatown Slim Television.